Hello and welcome to Post to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. As you can tell, I'm by myself here. Usually Brent's with me, but he's pretty busy these days. And I'm going to do a couple of these first seasonal report card videos about these teams kind of by myself. I didn't zoom in on myself because I'm actually going to use that section of the screen to show some stats. We'll talk about some stats for every single team. I'm going to start off with Vancouver. These are going to come in no particular order. I'm just going to film and release these at total random, so there's no sense in commenting, do Florida next. They're just going to be completely random. So Vancouver's first. It was just the first paper on the top of my list here. And yeah, so let's get into this. I did this last year. I went over some statistics. I did pros, I did cons, and then I think I gave my final thoughts. I'm going to try and basically do the exact same thing this year. And I'm going to go over, obviously, the teams that are eliminated or didn't make the playoffs first. So any team that didn't make the playoffs, I'm going to do those first. And then as teams start to get eliminated from the playoffs, as I'm filming this right now, it's night 6, I think, of the playoffs in round 1. So as teams start to get eliminated, then I'll start to do those as well. So Vancouver's first. Let's get into some stats. I'll put these up on the screen here for you. Points last year is 73. This year, 81. Pretty decent increase. I think a lot of people, I'll save my general thoughts on Vancouver for the end, but I think a lot of people felt like Vancouver did or projected them to be as good or as worse as they were last year. I didn't really feel like a lot of people expected them to make the playoffs or even finish dead last, kind of one of those middle ground teams, and I think that's pretty much where they were the entire year. And I don't think there was a lot of surprise there, but good to see them put an extra 8 points up on the board. Wins last year, 31. Wins this year, 35. They had a couple more goals for, a couple less goals against, which is awesome. Their power play took a bit of a hit, 21.4 to 17.1. That's a bit unfortunate. I felt like maybe they were more offensively gifted. Of course, there was a few injuries during the year to some key players, but I felt like they were a more offensively gifted team, so I'm a little shocked to see that power play dip that much. Penalty kill got a little better, went up to 81.1. Shots for per game remained pretty much the same, and shots against per game was pretty much the same as well, and face-off percentage didn't actually change at all. So it was, for the most part, it was a fairly consistent year as far as from year to year, and they ended the season 5-4-1 on a positive note with a shootout loss in their last game, so I guess that's not really a positive note, but their record is fairly positive, and that was a very close game too. It was against St. Louis, and they almost won, so good on Vancouver for finishing the season pretty strong, even though they weren't even contending for a playoff spot. So I'm going to start off with some pros, and these videos aren't going to be very long. I'm just going to go through a couple pros, a couple cons, and give my final thoughts. And I do each team by itself, so you guys can actually chime in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this team and how you feel how it compares to last year and where do you think it's going and stuff. This is a hockey community, and it's good to get some engagement back from you guys and hear your thoughts on the teams as well. So pros, Elias Pettersson. Wow. I mean, come on. It's just proof of how good this team is going to be in probably 2 to 4 years once all these young kids develop together and grow together. Man, this team is going to be awesome. And Elias Pettersson had a great year. It was fantastic to watch him play. He's probably going to win the Calder. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I really do believe that he's probably the top contender for that. We got to see a glimpse of Hughes at the end of the year. I thought he was a really dynamic player, all over the ice, great puck control, and what I found most impressive was his calmness. He wasn't nervous with the puck. He wasn't giving the puck away a lot, as many young players do. Kotkaniemi on Montreal gives the puck away a lot. He's a little nervous. He's a small guy, but so is Hughes. But I saw a lot more confidence with Hughes, and it was pretty impressive to watch him play. One of the biggest pros, I think, is, a couple of minutes ago I just mentioned that this team is pretty young, and that's a bad thing in a way, but it's also a good thing because a lot of these teams have young players. Every team has young players, and they develop for the most part individually because the team isn't overall young, but Vancouver overall is a pretty young team, so I think it's a pro that all these young players get to develop together over the next couple of years and in the previous years. I mean, Bo Horvat and Besser and now Pettersson, Hughes, all these players are going to kind of grow up together in Vancouver and play together and develop together versus an individual development, kind of like Kotkaniemi in Montreal, who was kind of developing more or less by himself in that team, even though Montreal is a young team as well. I thought that one of their best players this year was Markstrom. Every single game I watched, he made some incredible saves. There was a couple games where he had some stinkers, but I mean, every goalie has those nights. And I really felt like he was one of their best players. And yeah, I know goalies aren't players, but he was one of their best, the best and most consistent people on their roster, I'll put it that way. So it was nice to see him play good this year. If I switch over to cons, it seems like Vancouver always starts the season pretty strong, but they just can't seem to maintain that consistent play. I think they're so excited to get going and to get the season started and to get kind of that last season out of their mind, and they run into some consistency issues. Last year, I think Vancouver was about a month into the season. I think maybe they were second in the Pacific, maybe third. Things were looking pretty good, and then things kind of just fell apart. I don't know if that's a physicality in shape kind of issue or if it's a mental issue, but it seems to be a bit of a trend. So that's obviously a con. Hopefully that doesn't happen this coming year. They lack a bit of experience. I just obviously mentioned that they're a pretty young team, but they don't really have a lot of older guys on the team. I think the oldest is probably Louis Eriksson. I think he's 32 or 33. I'm pretty sure he's 33, and he's their oldest. He's the oldest person on the roster, and I don't typically, I wouldn't consider Louis Eriksson to be a veteran, even though I guess he technically is in relation to the other people on the team. But to me, Louis Eriksson's still a pretty young guy. So this team doesn't have a lot of older veterans. You don't see the Justin Williams, and you don't see the Joe Thorntons or anyone really old, like not really old, but old like that, who can kind of teach these younger kids some vital lessons. Not that Louis Eriksson can't, but I think you know what I mean. Another con this year was injuries. Mentioned a bit before. Elias Pettersson was injured, I believe, 3 times. One of them looked fairly serious. I read a lot of people online talking about how he's the next Austin Matthews, and he's made of glass, and he must be related to Ben Bishop because he's made of glass too, and all this stuff. I think that's a bit of just a random blip on the radar. I don't think he's made of glass. I don't think this is something to be concerned about if you're a Vancouver fan. I think it's bad luck. He's a pretty high-intensity player. He gets himself into some pretty high-intensity situations, so I think it's just bad luck. Any single player in the NHL can get injured at any single moment, at any single night, in any game. So I don't foresee Elias Pettersson getting injured 3 times or any times next year or any more. It is what it is. I wouldn't be worried about it. So final thoughts on this team. I think this team has a lot of potential. It's really cool to see a team play, and it's not cool to see them miss the playoffs, but when you watch a team and you can see the potential there in the team, and you know in 3 or 4 years this team is going to be in the NHL and they're going to be a contender for the Cup. Once all these superstar young kids grow up a little bit and get some experience and put some weight on and grow up a little bit, it's going to be awesome to see this team play. So it's really cool to see that now when you can kind of tell the future a little bit. We saw that with Toronto, even Tampa Bay, some of their players growing up and stuff. So it's pretty cool to see this happen, even though right now it's a bit of a frustrating time if you're a Vancouver fan. But anyways, I really enjoy watching this team play. Hopefully they get a little bit better defensively. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know down below in the comment section. Please like this video down below. And hope you can hit the subscribe button as well and tune in for these future videos on all the teams. I'm excited to get going and get these done and make all kinds of other playoff videos and podcasts and everything as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a good day, and we'll see you next time. Adios.